Well done.
So look, you realise the timing tonight is going to be hopeless. So if you appreciate the timing is going to be hopelessly behind, if you're ready for it, we'll just continue hopelessly behind, because there's a lot we can do tonight. You're welcome to go any time, of course, but you know, we're possibly half an hour behind at the moment. It doesn't matter, we've got plenty of time here. We're not going to be kicked out. So we're moving on to the next Meet the Senior. Remember, we've got 600 years of history here, or more. We don't want to waste it. So, Alan. I'd like to introduce the senior Latimer by birth. Let me introduce Alan Latimer. Alan, to me, is a walking clone of Adrian. You know, the same build, looks the same, it's the same blue eyes, the same stirrer. So let's go to Alan Latimer, and I'll ask Alan to introduce himself. What's your name?
They won't know my name. My name's Latimer. How about that?
Two teas or one tea?
And in the room with me is a lot of my friends and relatives. Have I got any friends? Yeah, a few friends. Well, that's about it. All I can say is I'm having a good time, and I'm pleased to meet all these little people, these young people, I mean. Not us hardbacks. Us hardbacks, not you young people. And I can't talk very much with my throat will go in a minute, but what do you want me to say?
Tell us about your trombone.
Oh, the old G trombone in Cloud, in the band.
He's a musician.
Well, the reason I got to play the G trombone, I had no finger, half a finger missing, and I couldn't play the keys on all the instruments. So the old Jim Riley, me bootmaker, teaching me the trade, was the bandmaster. So he put me on the G trombone. Nobody played the G trombone. No fun in it. It was only good. And he taught me to play it, and I was his hero because he liked me and I worked for him, and he looked after me very well in Coago. Then the silly old war came, and I went to war like a silly old young fella, and come home. What do I do?
Mr. Menzies.
Oh, Bob Menzies come and saw me, went to the hospital in Concord, yeah. I didn't know that, but Dad was there also. And he was Dad's uncle, I think.
Well, mate, do you believe that?
No, I believe nothing of your Dad. I believe nothing you hear and nothing you see. Am I talking too much? I don't know what I'm talking about. Julie Gillard.
Yeah, let's get controversial here.
Julie Gillard. Funny, I've never heard of it. Oh, I think, well, they're all the same up there. They all do the same thing. I'm happy with them all. None of them hurt me. The only thing I don't like about them, they're not giving me enough money. And I hope they give all my friends more money. That's how young blokes.
Tell us the bird story. Do you remember Bird?
Uncle Bird?
Yeah.
Do I remember Uncle Bird? Yeah, fifth with Uncle Bird. He taught me how to rifle shoot in Coago. He taught me the 303 rifle shooting. I used to sit in the soggy gun up the street, you know, all the kids thought I was a hero. I stood up there with the 303. I was a hero. Couldn't shoot for nuts. And he took me out of the rifle range, put me into his home, 303, told me how to point the thing at the target. Sorry.
And again.
I ended up 4 miles down the river and nearly broke my shoulder. And I got a bullseye. Uncle Bert thought, gee, he's a good shot. And he tried to get me to shoot again, I wouldn't touch the damn thing.
And can you tell us about Lance and Brian? Used to go boxing with him.
Oh, Brian.
Lance and Brian.
I didn't know what to do with Lance, but Brian, he used to be able to hug a bit. Him and I used to get the gloves on a bit. And he was a little bit better than me. And I got wild with him one day and I got stuck into him.
And who won that one?
He come back faster. I won though, I think. And I got on well with Brian. And he'd done a lot in the army too, as far as I know, boxing and me. Because I was in the army too and I didn't know what he was doing. What are we doing now?
You can do it now, you can tell.
Yeah, I never did that. I took it out. I was security.
Security.
Yeah, well, what I used to do, funny sort of a job it was, I'd never be an officer. I could never be an officer. Because the job I had was I had to go around different camps reporting on what was taking place with the people and the officer. If it was there, went there as an officer to check up, I had to report on how they handled the men, what they were doing in the army, what they did when they were out drinking, what they talked about. That was my job, to report on that sort of thing. Then I'd go to the sergeant's mess. I'd be a sergeant and do whatever they didn't talk on, or report on what they were doing and how they talked. Who was a drunk and who was a talkative bloke and all this sort of just security, you know. Home security, they called it.
So Alan was James Bond 007.
Who was he?
Any more questions you want to ask the panel?
Yeah, because I've got no answers.
Here's a chance. He's born in 1920.
Was it? It makes me old.
Remember that?
1920. So you want to hear about life in 1920? Here's your answer. No motor cars, except Joe and his Oldsmobile. And so you went to Tilba? You remember going to Tilba? Way back? Going to Tilba?
When do I go to Silver? Down to a funeral is all I remember.
Yeah, but we've worked out that Alan went to Joe's funeral. He said he remembers going to Tilba. He said he remembers going to a funeral in the 1920s. We've got a picture of Alan this high, aged about 4 or 5 in the mid-20s, and that's when Joe passed away. So talk about a link to the guy on the wall there. That he was at the funeral at Tilba in April 25. You were there. And he said he remembers as a kid going to a funeral in Tilba. That's the only one who died about that period. So there's your link to the forefather. So final words, Al? This is your chance. What else is there to say?
Oh dear.
Tell about who else was there. Any comments on
Down at the funeral?
no. About say you've got Bert, got Purse. Did you remember Purse?
Purse?
Yeah.
My dad.
I guess you remember him.
How can I forget?
But what Ken said, okay?
Yeah.
Very good.
What,
Yeah.
Ken was right on the ball. Yeah. I remember about the farm and cut me finger. What was that? Finger. Get me finger.
Did it grow back? Didn't grow back.
I went down to the dad was milking the cows at the time. It was milking time. Do you want to hear that story? Yeah. And Dad and Mum and Mick Krause was a working for us. And in the separator was you had a handle to turn, and had so many ribs on it, and the handle I turned was a cog there and a cog there, and on top of the separator was this big thing. And Dad had come and pulled and look in it, and we had to get the separator of certain ribs. And my brother was almost thinking, no, I was doing about 1,000 ribs too much. Well, we'd have made butter instead of cream. I pushed that very bright thing there, just in front of the cogs. And I didn't swear much like that. I don't think. And I pushed my finger on it. Well, when I did, I separated in them days all greasy and slippy, milky cream on it. My finger went straight into the two cogs. I stopped the separator, it went pop! And there's my finger in there. So my brother, well, couldn't get down, I couldn't pull down. I said, wind the wood thing back. They wound the cork back and I pulled it out. And when I looked at it, it was all crossed out like that. Probably.
Start a strawberry milkshake.
Didn't howl. I just looked at it. And John took one look at it and he off down to the bath and told Dad, because Dad been a good old farmer, you know. He opened his mouth, oh God, I've never heard so many swear words in all my life. And he rushed up to the cream house, looked at it, took one look at it, and the dirty old whatever was there, and wrapped it around his finger. Then he sent Betty down, I think, to the milk until Mum, Dad, that Alan bucketed his hand up and got taken to the hospital. So we had to leave the Milton to milk cow, like Woodford, and Mum hands up the sulky, which we had our automobile, and put us in that and rushed us down to Dr. Latimer, I'll never forget his name, in Beckerman. And he took me down there and I remember looking at it and he got a knife out and he's peeling off these bits with a knife, no anaesthetic or anything. And I'm looking at him, he's doing this. And he bandaged it up and done whatever and sent me home. Well, gangrene set in that night and I howled all night with blood poisoning and drove everybody up a wall. Dad had to harness up the sulky again and shoot me down to the doctor. He put me in the hospital and cut it off. That's what's left. All that's left after that for me. No, it's simple. I'm sorry to hold you up there. Not alright. I'm in my second childhood.
Round of applause for Alex.